more, we welcome back the author of the upcoming book, Think It, How to Train Your Thinking to Get Everything You Want, Master Life Coach, Sarah Centrella. Good to see you again.
Great to see you, Helen.
I think we kind of assume that most people are confident or they're not.
Absolutely. I think most people do think that if I'm not confident, it was because I wasn't born confident.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So I'm kind of going to shrink back in settings and watch the confident people take over.
Right.
But truly, you can teach yourself how to be confident and change that story the same way you can change literally anything, the same way that you would change your body if you went to the gym. So it's kind of, there's three different elements to it.
Okay.
The first one is
this what you call mental tennis?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Mental tennis is part of it. I think the first thing that almost all of us do is we have negative voices in our head about ourselves,
Absolutely.
right? And so if we can just get to the place where we can stop that story.
So stop tearing yourself down.
Stop tearing yourself down, because it is just feeding a cycle over and over and over again. And it's very hard for me to feel confident if all day long I'm telling myself all the things that I'm bad at and not good at and other people are better at, right? So if I can stop that and say, nope, that's not true. This is true instead. In other words, I am confident, or I am successful, or I'm learning, I'm growing. Then I can start to create a new story for myself.
Okay.
And once I do that, then it's much easier for me to show up in that energy. So the third kind of piece of that would be not only do you have to kind of get out there and do the thing that you're scared of,
okay.
that you have fear of, because that's the only way to get better at anything. There's no shortcut to that. But I also engaged visualization a lot, both for myself and for my clients. And what I mean by that is for example, when I was back in corporate, when my kids were really little, I had a big job that I did not feel I was ready for. I was very scared. And so every day while I was brushing my teeth and getting ready, I would tell myself, I am successful, I'm ready for this job, I can take on this challenge, I'm good at it, I'm smart. And then I would visualize putting on like a power suit, you know, and I would like kind of walk myself through this like great power suit. I imagine myself in the corner office, and just all of those things help me literally walk into the office in the morning with my shoulders back and kind of having a more confident energy, which then people reciprocate and feel.
Right.
And then as I start getting better at my job, I start genuinely feeling confident. So it's kind of this little cycle, if you will, that you can really teach yourself if you are consistent and you're also just being present to what's going on in your head.
I think some people confuse self-confidence with arrogance. And they want to avoid that, right?
Oh, completely. I think a lot of people think that confidence and cockiness are the same thing.
Right.
They are not.
Yeah.
They really are not. I think we all know a cocky person, and no one wants to be around that person.
No.
Right? To me, the big difference is if someone is cocky, they have to tell you all this stuff, and they're probably not actually doing any of it, and they're not backing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And they're masking actually probably very low confidence.
Right.
Confidence, genuine confidence, is me knowing who I am, knowing what I'm capable of, really understanding myself really well, and then changing that voice so that I'm showing up really as who I'm meant to be. So I think like that example of me telling myself every day I'm successful, in the beginning I didn't believe it. It was like this big lie that the face in the mirror was like, what are you doing? You know? But then over time, 6 months later, a year later, I'd find myself in meetings feeling fully confident. Yeah. You know, feeling like I was in that power moment in the power suit in the boardroom, and you know, so you really see this kind of iteration of how it changes you as a person when you're consistent on that.
You use your technique with your son, who was not feeling very confident about things. So tell me about that process.
I did. I went through a divorce when he was about 5, and of course, divorce is tough on any kid.
Sure.
He's a very sensitive kid, very kind of similar to me. And so what I noticed in him, especially right after that, is that he was pretty hard on himself. We would, you know, he started football when he was about 6 or 7 years old, and he would just get really down on himself, get really frustrated if he did something wrong, tear himself down, want to quit. And so I just started telling him every single day all the things that I knew he wanted to be, and also characteristics that I wanted to develop in him. So I would say things like, honey, you are the most determined kid I've ever met in my life.
Right.
You know, like you are you're such a great hard worker. You take coaching so well. It's amazing how well you take coaching. Your coaches love that. So that was all a lie at the point, but now that's who he is.
So you started that 3-step technique that you talked about earlier, that you had him do that. So he had to first stop tearing himself down.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. So I would tell him whenever he would say things like that, I would say, we don't say that. We don't talk like that around here. You're actually really good at this. You're getting better. You're better today than you were yesterday. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of teaching him how to change those voices. Right. But then also proactively kind of embedding in him who I knew he could be and also who I knew he wanted to be. So I knew he wanted to be determined and, a hard worker and be coachable and be all of these things. But he, at that point, was the opposite. And it's really interesting. He went on and had a football career at Oregon. He just graduated from the University of Oregon. And I think every one of his coaches would be like, that's the most coachable kid on the team, and he's naturally confident. He's not cocky. Right. He's naturally confident because he knows himself. He knows his abilities. So he stopped tearing himself down, started building up his courage, and started telling himself how he wanted to show up. Right. And then take the step to doing what he felt. Absolutely. Right? And visualizing when you're doing it, it's really important to kind of imagine yourself doing it in the best way, doing it as that successful person. And do you write it down? Sometimes I think writing down helps, right? I do. I write down everything. I have journals literally all over my house. So I'm always kind of rewriting it. Yeah. I'm writing down those IMs and those affirmations. Quick, easy thing that anybody can do is just write down positive affirmations of the things you want to be, not who you are now, but who you want to kind of become. So, if you're feeling inadequate maybe at work or in your body, let's say, I know a lot of women, me, I'll say, we have a hard time with that. So every single day say, I am beautiful. I am sexy. I feel fantastic. I love my body, right? And it'll feel crazy at first, but then you will literally get to a day where you're like, girl, you look good. Yeah. Well, girl, you do look good. Thank you, Cynthia. All right, we'll be right back. Remember, the book again is called Think It, How to Train Your Thinking to Get Everything You Want. Sarah Centrella, thank you again. So much fun. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.